What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Iowa State fan perspective here at Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. Happy Friday as we'll get this out. I know Justin and I are recording Thursday night, so if there's a little more enthusiasm to our voice, it is because the Cyclone basketball team just completed the sweep and defeated the Hawkeyes once again. It's just kind of like
Hawkeyes.
We beat the fucking Hawks is what happened. So
Wow.
We'll get into all that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves tonight. If you're tuning in for the first time, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video. We cover college football 365 days a year, all 136 teams. And here at the Iowa State fan perspective, I'm joined by my brother Justin each and every single week, talking Cyclone football all year round as well. So Justin, how we doing? I know we're pretty jacked up after the basketball win. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to do too much basketball talk. It's not really what we dive into too much here. There's other good Iowa State basketball podcasts out here, but I think the people are still wanting to know a little bit more about Coach Jimmy Rogers, wouldn't you say? And I'd say he has you pretty fired up tonight.
Yeah, I'd say tonight gave people a little sneak peek and getting a little bit of his personality out there. That was pretty awesome. I don't know how everyone else perceived it, but I was pretty fired up by that. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, what a better way to set the tone. And if you guys live under a rock and you didn't see it, I just put his quote out there. I just said it, but go look it on Twitter. It's probably everywhere this morning, even on a Friday morning.
Yeah, that's what it was when I was looking at it after the game.
We got the text that he said it. And then so I'm like refreshing Twitter and I don't see it. I don't see it for like 5-10 minutes. There's nothing. I was like, I got to see this. I was like, somebody recorded it there. Then turns out it just needed like 15 minutes of wait time. And then every single post on Twitter then became him in that video. And since Coach Rogers said that, Iowa State went on a 20-3 run. The Hawks made it a little bit of a game in the second half, but it was just the spark they needed to beat the effing Hawks and to complete the sweep in the Cy-Hawk series. So I mean, he's making a fantastic first impression. I love Coach Rogers at this point. Justin, I have to ask though, interesting hat selection here. I know you just purchased do we call those the Matt Campbell hats?
I think they might go down as that. Yeah.
Because I don't see,
especially if we don't bring back the blacks very much, it might go down like that.
Right. And I think they'll still keep the black. Like Rogers wore a black jacket, Iowa State jacket when he addressed the players on Sunday night. So I think the black will stay around. I don't know how much, but I would say that particular hat you're wearing and the one I own as well, I don't see Coach Rogers ever wearing that hat because that was specifically Matt Campbell. Like maybe he wore the black hat with like the red and gold Iowa State, which I like. I have that hat myself. But bold strategy to wear the Matt Campbell hat, our first episode, basically recording after the news. I know we went live last week.
Well, if I would have known you were just going to cut him out of the intro video, then maybe I would have.
Is that what happened?
So what are you going to do? What if Rocco says he's transferred next week? Are you going to just cut the intro video entirely?
Yeah. We're I'm getting
on a clean slate.
I'm getting on Parks. I know he's busy with work. He works for Omaha Steaks, and like this is the busiest time of the year. If you guys don't know Parks, he's one of our co-hosts at Play the Fight Song.
He get Omaha Steak sponsorship.
That's a great question. But yeah, we'll get him to work once the busy season's at least over. He'll get us a new intro, so we might go introless for the rest of the month.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. We'll just keep the Seneca stuff in there. We'll just keep it all the way to the Seneca stuff because that'll last forever. Because Seneca's the best. But anyways, before we dive into the episode completely tonight, again, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Shout out to our partners before we dive in too much because the holiday season is just around the corner. Shout out to our partners at shopnorivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on all the best hats in collegiate sports. I think they're up to 12 editions. I mean, you see them over my shoulder here. I mean, I think 12 or 13 different Iowa State hats they got there. It's not too late to get somebody that holiday gift. They've been awesome. I'm sure they're getting them out the door just so you guys can get your Christmas presents here in the next couple of weeks. So go and tell them that we sent you. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on all the best hats in collegiate sports. Shop norivals.com. Shout out to those guys. Episode rundown. We're just going to basically cover the week that has been. Looking for wood around here that I'm near. Knock on wood. It's been actually somewhat of a quiet week. I know there's a little bit of more staff been implemented.
I was going to say it's gotten pretty noisy with staff here today.
I would
Things
say
started to become pretty out there.
Yes, the staff train as far as who's coming and going has been on fire, but some decommits from the high school class, but no transfers yet. So I know we're sitting back like waiting for things to come out. Maybe like Friday or over the weekend.
I think we knew that was going to come once the staffs fell in place. Then the players were going to decide where they want to go.
Yeah.
And that's on both sides. That's on Penn State's side and that's on our side here at Iowa State, like who we were going to hire. So I think that was going to play a big role before any players were really going to start moving.
And the fact that it helps that the portal, we've touched on this before, but the portal doesn't actually start this year until January 2nd. So like if this happened last year, I mean, we might have 20 guys in the portal at this point because that December window would be going on right now and it closes in the next week. But now, trying to get the staff in place, the players get some time to like think about it and actually like settle down and actually consider all of their options. So that transition, at least that form of the calendar for the college football slate has been at least nice because I get a little overwhelmed when it comes to the portal stuff when we cover it, play the fight song, because we have playoff and we have bowl games and we have all this to cover. And then on top of that, a bunch of dudes are in the portal and you're just running over your head over your shoulders. You don't really know where you're going. So that's been nice. So we'll do that. We'll get our thoughts on no bowl game for Iowa State. Unfortunately, we don't have a bowl game to cover. And then any other closing thoughts as we move into next week, where I think next week, I would guess the next week, the staff will be complete and it's just all gas. Like I think everything's just going to go absolutely crazy right before Christmas.
It seems like at this point, pretty much the entire staff that we had here at Iowa State is now just going to become Penn State. Is kind of what it started to sound like today. I mean, I don't know if the Heacock is official, if he's going, but Penn State's defense coordinator Jim Knowles did sign with Tennessee, so they do need a defense coordinator.
I did not see Campbell ever retaining Jim Knowles.
No, I would assume Heacock at least goes over there for a year to kind of implement the system and have a familiar face around. Maybe. I mean, that's been his right-hand man since the get-go. I would assume he's going to want him there for that. But they pretty much announced Broomfield's as the DB's coaches over there. They announced Mauser as the OC today. Paulie's probably going. I think they announced Clanton's going.
Clanton, Mauser, and Broomfield are the three official that have gone with.
So all of the highest impact, highest named guys pretty much announced they're going over there. So I would assume a good amount of our players are going to go as well, if that's the case.
We'll talk about it. We'll lay all that out. Justin, before we kind of dive into everything, we have it on the dock. Is there anything you want to touch on as far as like, I'm ready to put the Campbell stuff to bed. Like we'll probably touch more on Campbell, like in our actual 2025 season recap, which I'm assuming we might record that next week before the holidays, since there's no bowl game to cover, just grading the season as a whole. And then we'll probably touch on Campbell's legacy and what he's meant. But like, I'm kind of ready to just move on. It's kind of easier to keep things moving at this point and not dwell on it. But we haven't touched base since Matt Campbell addressed everything from the Des Moines Register thank you letter and his press conference on Monday. And we actually heard from Matt Campbell for the first time, an emotional Matt Campbell, I should say. So any takeaways or anything that you kind of wanted to get out there from his press conference on Monday?
Nothing in particular. I mean, he just handles everything with class. It's what Matt Campbell is. He's such a well-spoken guy and just handles, like I said, handles everything with class and just makes me very thankful for having him while we did, and gets me excited to see what he's going to do at the next stage. I know the last time we talked, it was just a lot of hurt at that time, where now we have some more optimism and some more clarity on our end, and then it kind of allows us to see his vision on what he's doing over at Penn State too. And I'm honestly really excited for the guy. I think he's going to be great over there. And as much as it sucks that we're going through this transition right now, I think it's good for Campbell in his coaching career and his journey of life. And I think it's good for college football, honestly. I think it's good for Iowa. I don't know if it's good for Iowa State. We'll see how this goes, but I think we're going to be just fine. And I think you get a guy like Campbell on a stage like Penn State and kind of get to know him. I think it's good for the sport, just the man that he is, the way that he coaches, the way that he impacts communities, the way that he impacts people's lives. I think it's going to be good for the sport of college football, just with how much turmoil and uncertainty and how much hopping around and lack of loyalty and all the things that people complain about with college sports nowadays. Campbell's pretty much the antithesis to that. And I think putting him on a big stage, letting his light shine a little bit, I think it's gonna be good for the sport. So I'm excited for him, and I'm excited to where Iowa State's going to be as well, because I know we're going to touch on it a little bit here, not to say any of that detriment to where we're going to be. I think Rodgers is going to bring a really good energy to the program that we need right now. So I'm excited for both guys, honestly.
Another thing I thought from like when he first gets up there and he can't even like talk in the first 5 seconds, he said he needed to take a second, like he was so brought back. It really, what came to my mind was, Justin, I actually don't think he was considering the Penn State job 8 days ago. Just from what I think I know who Matt Campbell is, again, we're fans, right? We don't know him on a personal level, but genuinely, like they were going after Kalani Sitake a week ago today. They had Crumble Cookie, buying Kalani to come back, and then they moved towards going after Campbell. Like I don't think Matt Campbell anticipated taking the Penn State job 8 days ago. Like I think he was preparing for a bowl game. He doesn't have an agent. He represents himself. Like he wanted to finish the Cyclone football season. And then the Sitake stuff happens and everything just like he quoted it as it was a whirlwind. Like those last 5 days, everything moved super fast. They got the news out. Everybody was leaking information. He didn't really like that. He even kind of said that in his press conference. He was not a big fan of that. And his wife had to kind of remind him, it's okay. Like you still want this Penn State job. Like there was some animosity. He literally said it. There was a little bit of him like, screw these guys. And his wife reminded him like how big this opportunity was. So I genuinely think Matt Campbell didn't think he was going to be the Penn State head coach 8 days ago. So for this all to happen, like I know as fans, we kind of felt like, holy crap, this is moving fast. Imagine being the guy himself. Like there was a little bit of empathy or sympathy for the guy and just how fast things were moving. And it was cool to see the genuineness. Like you knew it really took a lot out of him to actually move on and take another job. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, but he gave Iowa State everything. I know he kind of touched on that, but it was kind of cool to really see the emotion come out of him and just the genuineness that he really did love being Iowa State's head coach for a decade.
Yeah, for as hard as these situations can be and like these breakups and move-ons can be in college sports, I feel like they've pretty much, Campbell and his staff and his family and everyone's kind of handled it pretty much the best way they possibly could. I mean, you've got Eli Rashid and apparently John Heacock staying back in Ames, helping the program right now, helping the guys, kind of helping the new staff move in and kind of helping that transition. And I don't know how often that happens between different coaching staffs.
You don't hear it.
Like that happens, especially when these staffs, like, I mean, they know each other, but they're not like friends. It's not like they're in constant contact or anything like that. So for them to handle it the way they have, like, we should be really thankful as Cyclone fans that that's been going on, because honestly, I know I'm honestly probably too online when all this stuff goes on. Like I just want to get
just like everybody.
I just want to get as much information as I can, and just being on Twitter and like seeing all the reports and stuff and just hearing all the negativity. It was honestly, it was really starting to get to me and really bummed me out a little bit, just hearing a lot of the hate and the bickering, a lot of the talk about money and the stuff about Pollard and things like that. It was getting kind of tough for a while. So kind of getting through it on the back half this week and seeing some things starting to move on, seeing both guys starting to get settled in, it's been nice.
It's also a nice reminder too that, Jamie addressed everything, and you're not going to find a bashing Jamie Pollard podcast here for this show. You're just not. And I trust Jamie and I trust who he's going to bring on. I don't know Jamie personally. I just trust I trust his decisions and I trust his resume. And up until this point, he's never stirred us wrong at Iowa State, just with basketball hires, wrestling, bringing in Matt Campbell, all that stuff. And it's a reminder to just be careful what you read and be careful of the rumors. Like even Haycock to Penn State's not even, that's not it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not signed, sealed, and delivered. He's still considering all of his options, not coming back to Iowa State probably, but considering retirement and all that stuff. So between that and the stuff that basically Pollard's holding his coaches hostage with the NIL stuff, it did get a little deep there for a couple of days. And I thought Jamie addressed it really well. And he's going to give his coaching staff $15 million next year for the football program, and they're going to have all the access to do what they can. And I think that's plenty enough in this Big 12, at least to succeed. Now, we could always use more. It's college sports. Like, always keep pushing forward and trying to raise more dollars. But I think that I completely trust Jamie and where he's at with the NIL stuff. Otherwise, like, if he didn't, guys, like, if you bring it to basketball or just stay in football. Rocco Becht wouldn't have stayed last year. Dom Orange wouldn't have stayed last year. Nate Heisey, Josh Jefferson, like all the Milan Momcilovic, like, guys, they're getting compensated for something. I don't know what maybe they could have made money elsewhere, but their coaches made it a focus to at least give them something. And if Pollard would have said, no, you can't, then they probably would have left. So I don't feel like he was actually holding anything back as far as that. That's all we know. I see it in front of my face. I see what I see, and that's what I'm going to analyze. I have no ties in to the athletic department other than that.
Yeah, because I mean, we're not in those offices. We're not in those rooms when these people are making these decisions. So I mean, you hope they're being as transparent as possible and not holding anything back, just telling their side of the story at this point. Because you hear some things about kind of how those relationships were going. But I really don't think there was anything that Pollard could have done to keep Campbell around at this point. Like, I don't I don't think, Campbell obviously didn't really want to leave. Obviously, not every relationship is going to be picture perfect. Like, we're all human here. And like, I feel like, there's probably disagreements and people want to go about things in different ways, but that's just kind of life and that's kind of business. So like, people expecting all of these relationships to just like go by without any arguments or anything like that happen, or like trying to look for somebody to blame. It's really just not that productive and really not a realistic way of looking at things.
Also, one other thing too, guys, the NIL stuff didn't start last year. This has been going on since what, 2021. The portal's been going on for that long. Campbell could have left a long time ago if Pollard was really being that big of a prick about it. Like, he obviously has a good relationship with Jamie and just kept staying the course up until this point and then took a once in a lifetime job.
Yeah. I think it's possible that it's also kind of could have worn on them after long enough, because I thought that was kind of interesting that Campbell touched on that in his press conference a lot, that they were talking, like, he kind of joked about it, how they had to build their own collective and things like that. And I feel like trying to jump in Campbell and Hoosier's mind there, it's like, if they're the ones who think that they've kind of built this from the ground up, they probably, in the success that they had here, they're probably entitled to having more control than they were potentially getting. And they also touched on a lot that, like, one of the things that they were looking for is they want alignment from top down, and that's like from their superiors. So you could tell, I mean, potentially maybe some of the relationship wasn't perfect there, but at the same time, like, it was obviously good enough to do as well as they did at Iowa State. And this is still a once in a lifetime opportunity for Campbell. So hopefully both sides can grow from it and become better from it. But like, I don't really think this was something that was preventable, that people are like getting up in arms about.
Yep. I think it's time to move on to the next staff. And Jimmy Rogers was talking about how he had a $3 million budget at Washington State, and this year he gets 5 times that. So one coach is, sees an opportunity and he's going to take the most advantage of it. I will say, Justin, before we move on to Coach Rogers, the no bowl game thing, for us, we love covering bowl games. For us to play the fight song, we cover almost every bowl game. We love bowl games. Everybody's got their different opinions on them, but just the fact that we get to play one more game, you get to see your team one more time go against an out-of-conference opponent. I just love the opportunity. I think it's fun, and it's something awesome to do during the holidays, regardless of what you think winning a bowl game means for your program. That's your own opinion. So I just think not being able to see this team one more time for those seniors just sucks, man. And apparently it was a player's decision, so you respect it. A lot of the national people are really kind of killing Iowa State and Kansas State for it.
Which kind of ridiculous for, I feel like, killing Iowa State at this point. I mean, they don't have enough guys to field practice right now.
I don't think the national people don't understand that, though. That was where I was going with it.
It's not that hard to figure out. I mean, a lot of these players don't know what they're going to be doing in the future. They're still dealing with a lot of injuries. It's just like, it's not a good use of time right now to be focusing on a game. And it sucks because I want to see these guys play one more time. Like a lot of these seniors who have been around for a long time, and Rocco Becht and some of like these impactful players at Iowa State, who knows where they're going to be next year if we're going to get them back. So if this was like that Oklahoma State game was the last game that we get with this version of this era of football, it just kind of sucks that we don't get to see it end out in a better way. But the bowl game, it's just like, yeah, I can understand why people are so upset about it. And I don't know if Iowa State can really be affording to spend $500,000 to not play, but it's really just not that much of an option right now. If you talk to any of the players or kind of hear what's actually going on in that locker room right now.
It also sucks, like you mentioned it, the Oklahoma State game being the last game of this era. That game was so boring, and it was just like, just get to 8 wins, and then you get to play for 9 wins for a bowl game. That's all you were talking about. If they had left it, if they had ended it on the Kansas game, that'd have been a different vibe.
At least that was the last sight in Jack tries.
Yeah, exactly. And me and you texted before that night. It's ironic. We texted each other that when the Arkansas rumors were going around. We're like, let's just make tomorrow the Super Bowl, referring to the Kansas game. Like, let's just go all out
to the
for
tailgate.
it. Yeah, the tailgate. It's just the environment. And I thought it was just a beautiful day. And they kicked Kansas's ass. Like that, at least that being the last time I saw that team in person, that version of Iowa State football in person. It's just cool that was the last version of I think it was poetic. It didn't mean everything. It wasn't a Big 12 title, but it was a team you had lost to the last 3 years. They'd been struggling before that for 4 straight games, and then just to go out and play one of their best games of the year. That was at least cool to see. And it's so ironic that the last home game in Jack Trice Stadium for Matt Campbell was the rebirth of the Sinado on the helmets. I know he touched on the black, but they got to bring back the Sinado.
That was, yeah. If they end up moving back to that, that would be cool.
So we'll move on. Well, it's really time to get into the Jimmy Rogers era, and so let's pick up that before we kind of close out this episode. Let's touch on Jimmy Rogers as we finally got Coach Rogers in front of our face, spoke to the media. Again, acknowledged it at the basketball game last night. Was super cool there. And by all means, a lot of coaches win press conferences, so it really doesn't mean all that much. But I thought what he said was very real, very authentic. He got emotional talking about Coach Stiglmeyer at South Dakota State, giving him an opportunity in coaching and playing. He talked about players transferring. He talked about his new scheme and what he wants to bring in defensively, because that's really what he prides himself on as a coach, and that's really what he specifies in. All in all, Justin, any first real takeaways? I know it was, 4 days ago now, but any real takeaways from the press conference that really stood out to you with Coach Rogers?
Yeah, honestly, I was a little skeptical of the whole hire right away and just how it happened, just because I know it kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and hearing the way some people reacted, the players kind of thought that Friday night when Campbell was coming in to say he was leaving, they kind of thought that like Mouse or someone was going to be getting the next head coach job. Like no one was really prepared for Rogers to come in and get that job. It kind of seemed like something that had been predestined for the last couple years, which rubs people the wrong way a little bit. But after hearing the way Rogers thinks and hearing him in his press conference, this is a guy who feels really genuine and really grateful for this opportunity and doesn't feel like someone who's going to take that for granted. You can
Mhm.
tell just by the
Yep.
way that like he ended it, he's ready to get to work, and like he wants to make the most of this, and he seems really happy to be here. And that's impactful as a fan to like see that, like to feel that genuineness and see how much he cares, like makes you want to root for a guy like that.
I think it's perfectly said. I think that's the biggest thing is that whoever was going to coach this football team going forward after Matt Campbell was you just wanted a guy who just wanted to be there and wanted to be prideful that he coaches at Iowa State. And it, by all accounts, he's absolutely salivating for the job. He had that relationship with Jamie Pollard. He was asking Pollard, what's he got to do to be the next head coach after Matt Campbell leaves? Just like it almost feels like Iowa State was a kind of a dream job for him, which is all you can ask for when you get a coach. And now I know if you ask a Washington State fan, they'll probably tell you if Iowa State, wins 9 games next year, he's out the door. And Washington State's a little butthurt about it. And I totally get it. Like I understand their frustration with it too, but it seems like he's here for, I'm not going to say he's here for life because if Matt Campbell can leave, anybody can leave, but at least it seems like he wants to be here to build something. And that could be, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And that's a long time in college football. So I think that's something to be excited about. And he just wants to pick up where Campbell left off, man. There felt like a lot of mutual respect between Campbell and Rodgers, which was also really cool to see. You touched on it before. They're trying to help out the new staff and the transition and stuff like this whole transition to getting Rodgers in the building and how what's the word I'm looking for? Peaceful, I guess, and how transparent everything has been. Just doesn't feel like that happens anywhere in college football between a previous staff and this new staff going forward. Like,
Yeah,
I know,
not at
I know
all. That's,
the Lane,
yeah,
the Lane Kiffin stuff is completely different, but just take that for an example. And those
yeah,
two schools just absolutely hate each other and everything like that. So it could be a lot worse, is what I'm really trying to say.
yeah. I think we got to be, like I said at the beginning, we got to be thankful for these two staffs and how well they've been working with each other. And I'm sure they're working with, I mean, Penn State, they're going to get their pick of players, like whoever they want off this roster. If they want them, they're going. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's still some transparency there. And from what I've seen, they've been letting Rodgers' staff know like pretty much who's going to come and who's not, so they can know what holes to fill and who they need to start targeting and what positions they need to start targeting. And getting ahead of that now is
Yep.
only going to make like huge strides in the long run.
And going off of that, Justin, you mentioned it. It starts with the staff. There was a good article that came out a couple of weeks ago. I think it was maybe CBS or On3 said, getting your head coach is great. And it's awesome to be excited about who you hire as your new head coach. But really, it's about who he hires within his staff and who his assistants are. That's more important, honestly, than maybe getting the head guy. And as far as what I can tell at this point, Coach Rodgers has won that aspect already. He's got an offensive coordinator. That is official. Tyler Roll. If you weren't going to get Taylor Mauser to stay as an offensive coordinator, I think Tyler Roll's a great plan B option. Players are familiar with him. If you guys don't remember this guy, I don't blame you. He was there at Iowa State 1 year last year in 2024 before he left to be the tight ends coach for the Detroit Lions. He was a former running back at North Dakota State, coached at North Dakota State for almost a decade, was the offensive coordinator there from 2019 to 2023. They ran the crap out of the ball. They were really good at running the football, rushed for almost 230 yards a game almost every year, won a couple national titles, averaged over 30 points a game. Like, this is a guy who knows how to coach the offensive side of the ball. And for the player retention piece, it doesn't really mean anything on Rocco as far as we know yet, but if you can get a Busama and Carson Hansen back and have an established run game with a decent offensive line next year, Justin, that's a good building block into year one.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously everything stems from the quarterback and stems from Rocco and kind of where we're going to go from there. But even this year, I know we were looking forward to the progressions of the wide receivers with Eskelson and Sowell, with Pauly and Mauser going into next year and kind of what those guys could be. But if we're getting Sama, if we can get Sama and Hansen back, like having those guys back is basically like 2 3-year starters damn near as
Mhm.
kind of the workhorses to base our offense around. Like that would be huge. Just getting that production back. I know we kind of talked about if they could both get close to like 1,000 yards rushing last year. I mean, they have that opportunity coming into this season. If we can put a competent offensive line around them, like they're that good. And with a offense based around them like this, like the sky would be the limit.
Can I say a hot take too about the receivers? Whether Paulie's not officially gone to Penn State, I think he could take a plethora of jobs. I think he's that good. He has any option he wants at this point. I don't think Campbell has the receivers on this roster on his priority list of adding at Penn State next year
No,
between
probably not.
Sewell,
They weren't that
Eskelson.
good this year. I mean,
I
not that we don't think they can improve a lot. Like there's clearly the talent there, and I think a lot of that has to do with building the relationship with Rocco. But they weren't that good this year. I mean, we had 2 guys barely get over 500 yards.
It's the tight ends that the staff wants at this point between Bramer and Burkle. If we're being honest, I think that the receivers are, if they get some, maybe great, but guys, Penn State's gone through enough bad receiver play the last few years. I just don't know how much they want these receivers, and I like these receivers. I hope they stay because I think they could be good for Iowa State next year. But for what Penn State is trying to build with the offense, I don't know if I see those guys leaving, but I could be wrong. That's a hunch I kind of read when looking at the offense.
That's something though. If they take Rocco, I mean, they're going to want Eskelson and Sewell, I would assume.
They got $30 million, Justin, to spend. I think they can go get some bigger portal receivers from other big time schools, but maybe I'm wrong. That's not really Campbell's. That hasn't been Campbell's MO in getting a bunch of guys in the portal either. So we'll kind of wait and see on that before we maybe make a bunch of other comments about it. But let's move on to the defensive side of things. This is not official. This has just been reported by, honestly, like footballscoop.com is really good. So I kind of trust what they're saying. And by all accounts, Iowa State will have 2 defensive coordinators next year. One is Jesse Bobbitt from Washington State. He'll be following Rodgers there. I think he's the interim for Washington State in the bowl game. Okay, he is. I thought that was for certain. He was a GA at SDSU and Washington State. He's been the Washington State defensive coordinator for the last couple of years. And I think this is a really, really good get because the defense at Washington State was lights out the last 6 games of the year, holding Virginia, Ole Miss, and James Madison to under 25 points all on the road. So you're really excited to bring in a guy like that. And on the other side, the other co-defensive coordinator is Ross Watson. He was at Toledo. He was the co-DC at Toledo from 2016 to 2025. Developed Kenyon Mitchell, the corner for the Eagles. And this was a guy who stayed at Toledo, graduated from Toledo, and Nick Saban came out and publicly said it. He was trying to go after that dude his senior year in the portal at Alabama. So that's how high they thought of him. So 2 guys I think you got to be really excited about. And then on top of it, Rodgers is specified in defensively. And he's a former defensive coach, former linebackers coach. So the defense sounds like it will be the focal point of this group next year. It's just a matter of who's going to be on the roster. I think this coaching staff is going to go all out on trying to retain most of these linebackers, Justin. And then he kind of said it in his press conference, this defensive line next year is going to look completely different. You're going to bring in 5x the amount of defensive ends because you're going to be playing a 4-down lineman, and then you're going to need to hopefully bring in a couple of D tackles. We'll see if Zamir Hawk stays. We'll see if Elijah Carnell stays. On those 2 guys, man, I'd be pretty excited. I'd want to stay, but you don't know what's going through their mind. But that's just something to keep in mind when you look at this defense. Are you excited about the at least early right now what this defense could look like next year?
Yeah, you can tell me if I'm a little out of pocket with this comparison, but to get like Cyclone fans a little bit excited, I would say Jesse Bobbitt and kind of the projection that he's on as a coach on the defensive side is really kind of similar to what Nate Shieldhouse was on the offensive side. Bobbitt was a GA for 2 or 3 seasons, and then wasn't a position coach anywhere, jumped straight to a DC in 2023, and then has just been lights out the last 3 years as defensive coordinator. And part of that's to Rodgers' credit as well, because he's kind of a defensive coach in his own right. But just to kind of jump up that position rank that fast and to be as young as he is and to be as unsuccessful as defenses as he's been on is really exciting for kind of what he could bring to Iowa State. And all you got to do is tell me that Ross Watson's part of that Mount Union tree, and I'll get excited about it at this point.
Right. Great point on Bob. Great comp, by the way. If Iowa State's successful, they win football games and it's led by the defense. Bobbitt's a guy that could get maybe like a head coaching job at the G5 ranks or a big time P4 school will want to take a chance on him. Maybe like, at your SEC schools or something to be their defensive coordinator.
Maybe the Eagles are going to take him.
Maybe he'll make the jump to the NFL like Shieldhouse did. But that's really exciting. And I think when you get a young guy like that, it's a great transition and it's a fresh look from John Haycock, who I love John Haycock and what he's done. And you can't tell the Matt Campbell story without John Haycock, but there were a lot of fans who were very vocal about sick of the dime stack and all that. Be careful what you wish for is what I'm going to say before I see this 4-man front and what Rodgers brings defensively.
That's the important thing, because we're bringing in such a good defensive staff and like our defense is going to be good. And you're going to hear all these jack-offs just be like, see, we just needed to get Haycock out of there. And like, it's not
happens.
I hope he goes to Penn State and they have success.
Stay off Twitter, Justin.
People are going to say that though.
Yeah,
your least favorite Cyclone fan is going to be telling you that.
And they're going to be really pissed if Haycock does go to Penn State, they're not going to play the dime stack. I don't envision. Guys, he can coach. So? He didn't bring it to Iowa State. Like he put that in his second year. Like he's a defensive coordinator. He can coach to his players and personnel. I'm sorry, but the defensive players you get at your resource at Penn State, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can be a little more aggressive with it. So just be careful what you wish for. Either way, I'm super excited about this transition. And it's going to be different, man. Like this team play style wise appears to be a lot. This is going to play like a North Dakota State, South Dakota State type team. And we're just going to see if it can translate to the Big 12. I think it could, because it's going to be a different look.
They're going to play like Iowa State basketball.
The first couple of years. Yeah, I would envision
pretty much every year until this year.
Yeah, it's right. Well, the offense was good last year, kind of at points, but I get what you're saying. It will be in, TJ has that little relationship with Rodgers too. You just kind of connect the pieces here and there. It's not always going to be, I don't know yet, because we don't know the full roster, but I prepare fans, guys, we might be like the Big 12 version of Iowa football, with hopefully a better quarterback. Obviously, clearly, I think the offense is going to be a little more progressive than Iowa football, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like it's going to be eerie similar to how Iowa plays, BYU kind of plays in this league. It's going to be completely different than really anybody else you kind of see in the league. But the Big 12 has transitioned to a little more defensively. Like look at Tech and look at Arizona State.
That's kind of the way, it's honestly kind of the way football is moving right now. I mean, look at the NFL and see how down the stats and the points are. Offense is moving so much, and a lot of the play calls and like the way the game's officiated obviously tends to the offense, but defense is winning right now. And like your Iowa comp, I mean, doesn't take too much to just don't look too much farther than Mark Gronowski, the quarterback for Iowa, who won 2 national championships at South Dakota State with Rodgers. It's like, yeah.
I wonder if Chase Mason has any more eligibility. If you guys don't know who that is, it's South Dakota State's quarterback, and I think he's better than Gronowski.
I don't know. Did you listen to Fanatic this week when Bloom and Jake were talking? I mean, Mansky and
Penn State really wants Mansky. Penn State fans really want Mansky.
Penn State fans can stay off my Twitter.
I'm just
Mansky
telling
and
you,
Moberly, both kind of mobile, bigger guys that could be good in this system.
Could be. Yeah, it'll be interesting. The quarterback room is going to be fascinating, man. One of those guys is going to stay. I can't imagine all three. Like one of them is going to be like, I have an opportunity to start here next year. I'm sticking around. Fascinated to see which one it is. And we'll talk about it all off season, and maybe we'll find out who that guy is next week. And maybe 2 guys stay. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's a Rocco and maybe it's one Moberly and the Mansky goes to Penn State. I don't know. We don't know. But that's a storyline to follow. And not a lot of people have been talking about the Rocco situation. Like, what's he going to do? We touched on
he
it
goes
Saturday.
to the women's basketball game and speaks to the locker room. He starts to tease us a little bit. Don't do that. You're going to leave.
It's fascinating, man. Like, I wish we were covering bowl games, but this last week has been a lot of fun to at least follow. It's been entertaining to say the least. It's not always been the most pleasing, but it's entertainment, at least to this point. It gives us a lot of podcast material.
And if Rocco or any of the players decide to leave as well, I will have no ill will towards them. And anyone listening, don't give any of these players hate either.
No, I wouldn't say that. And so we'll wait and see. Speaking of players, let's wrap that up, Justin, with a couple of notes for decommitments so far. A lot of it's been in the high school ranks. Not a lot of portal news. Quentin Taylor and Zay Robinson are really the only two in the portal that kind of had a lot of playing time. Josh Patterson, obviously, but Josh actually left while Campbell was still there. Campbell told him to kick rocks because he tried to sit out that last Oklahoma State game to reserve his red shirt. So from the high school stuff, you lose Will Slagle, but he's 2027, so that's not all that surprising.
I saw he was crystal balled to go to Penn State. That'd be huge for them.
Yeah, it would. It would. Man, I remember being so when he committed in the parking lot, that Kansas game. God, that was so much.
This is freaking 3 weeks ago.
That was 3 weeks ago, and that was one of Iowa State's bigger recruits.
We walked right by his tailgate. We were right there.
I know. So that's one. But from the 2026 class, Amarian Jackson, the wide receiver from Omaha, he's gone. Case Evans, the quarterback from Texas, is leaving. Bryson Williams, the safety from Omaha, he's projected to go to Penn State. I said last week, guys, he was the best player in the class, and I think Campbell really wants him. And then this Pete Iglesias, he had 21 offers as an offensive tackle, part of the 2026 class. I'd imagine he's probably moving on to Penn State as well. So we'll wait and see. I mean, Penn State literally brought in, I think, one recruit after everybody left and went with Franklin and Virginia Tech. So those guys are all probably heading to Penn State. So only 5 guys so far. I would love to see the staff trying to retain Jeffrey Roberts, the wide receiver from Ames, just hometown kid. Like, I'm not saying he's Taman Lipsey, but like when Taman committed and stayed with TJ, like that was cool. You want to keep those kind of guys in. And I don't know if he's really high Big Ten level wide receiver anyway. So we'll see with that. So that's really all I have as far as a player retention piece goes. We'll probably touch on that a bunch next week, Justin. We went 40 minutes on this. I didn't really anticipate us going this long, but we kind of wanted to play the whole week out, see what happened. And it was rather a quiet Monday through Thursday for the most part as far as players go. Happy Friday. We'll see what happens going forward. Any other closing thoughts before we kind of get out of here?
Hold the line.
Hold the line. Hold the line. That's a good phrase. I was also going to say, let's get to work.
That's good as well.
Let's get to work. All right. Just like Coach Rogers, Justin and I, it's time to get to work. The Coach Rogers era is officially underway. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Awesome to see the basketball team get the sweep done. It's a Cyclone State. We will get you guys covered throughout the rest of this coaching cycle and all that good stuff leading into 2026. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video. We cover all things college football all year round here at Play the Fight Song. Remember to shopnorivals.com. Go and check those guys out. Best hats in collegiate sports. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping. My name is Jake. That's my brother, Justin. We will see you guys back here very soon. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, go Cyclones.